This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by David Price over Zoom. David, before we come on to the obvious of what we saw last night, how are you? How's life treating you?
Good, thanks, Andy. Yeah, all good, mate. Everything's good. Can't complain.
I'm glad to hear it. And yeah, let's just get straight into it, David, because I know you're a busy man. Last night we saw Tyson Fury overcome Francis Ngannou via split decision. It certainly brought a lot of controversy with it. What was your immediate reaction and thoughts on the fight, man?
I thought the wrong man won the fight. To be honest, in my opinion, I was watching it, and as it was playing out, I did know he weren't going to lose the fight on points. Fury, there was too much at stake in what's coming after the fight. Francis Ngannou was coming from an outside sport into boxing. It would have been bad, really bad for boxing if he'd have lost. So it just weren't going to happen. But I thought Ngannou done enough to win the fight. But I think Fury will feel like he's lost the fight anyway, because in a lot of people's opinion, he did lose the fight. There's a few, there's a small minority think he done enough to win the fight. But the reality is, look, Ngannou should have had his hand raised at the end of the fight, and Tyson Fury, he's going to have to take his medicine, I suppose, because for the last 5, 6 years, whatever, he's been lauded, really, and rightly so, because he's done everything right, and he's had no bad performances, really. But last night was different. It was a bad performance, and he was lucky to get the decision. So, he'll feel like he's lost that fight, and he's going to have to, rebuild emotionally and mentally from it, one way or another. He might do it no problem, but as far as that's concerned, like, it was a massive upset. Even though he got his hand raised, it's making people ask a lot of questions. Anyway, that's for sure.
David, walk me through the fight from as much as you can remember from the first to the 10th. Obviously, seeing Tyson get dropped in the third. How was you assessing it round by round?
So yeah, I mean, I thought Fury won the first round. He come out and straight away threw a couple of power shots, which didn't phase Ngannou at all, which you'd expect, because he's a premier elite mixed martial artist, so he's used to having strikes come his way, and then he settled into the fight straight away. But Fury struggled to work out Ngannou's bit of a different type of style, and that's kind of like getting a taste of his own medicine, really, because Tyson Fury's main strength is how unorthodox he is as a boxer. He's not your conventional boxer that's easy to read, and he kind of got a taste of his own medicine there, because Ngannou's come in and he isn't your conventional boxer. He doesn't do what you'd expect him. He doesn't come from the old school style of boxing. He had his own way of, how he held his hands, how his balance was, how he defended themselves from shots, how he positioned himself. But Ngannou had good fundamentals. I thought he's moving his feet well. I thought he was, he's definitely worthy of being in there. Obviously, second round, I can't remember how we scoring it, but obviously the third round was a 10-8 round for Ngannou. Fourth round, I think I give to Ngannou, and I think I give Fury 5 and 6. Um, I think Ngannou has a big 8th round, or one of them. I've lost track, but overall, anyway, I think I remember giving Fury four rounds out of the 10, and I give Ngannou the rest with an 10-8 as well. So that, I think a lot of people had the same opinion, but Fury just didn't look like he recovered from the knockdown to me. I don't think. I think once he felt that power, I think a bit of tentativeness set in, and he was scared to let his own shots go. Look, I know, I've been there. It's easy saying, get up off the floor and, go back in with the same intent as you did, but you always have that in the back of your mind. If I slip up again here, I can find myself on the canvas again. So I think I've seen a little bit of that after the knockdown, but yeah, it was wild. Really, it was wild, wasn't it? Fucking mad.
It was obviously a card which was stacked with heavyweights, which I don't want to kind of take away from that main event because for a brief amount of time I've got you. But just sticking with it, where does Tyson go from here? There's obviously that talk of December 23rd. You would imagine with the cut above his eye and the marking up and the bruising around it and kind of how grueling of a fight it ended up being for him. That doesn't seem likely now. Do you think it'd be wise for him though to go into an Usyk fight next year? Or do you think he'd need to maybe get some momentum back, fight somebody else before going for an Usyk undisputed bout?
I don't know. He's got two ways of dealing with this. Tyson Fury. He can either go into a shell a little bit and go missing for a bit and lick his wounds, or he can come out defiant, which you know, who knows how he's going to come out, because we haven't seen this with Tyson Fury. We haven't seen him be in this situation since the John McDermott fight, which he probably should have lost as well earlier in his career. So we haven't seen I haven't seen him have to overcome people's questioning, doubts, you know, because in his mind he's lost this fight, and metaphorically he's lost the fight without a doubt. You know, the general consensus is that he's lost the fight, and he's gone from being can do no wrong in the last few years to now questions being asked, doubts being raised. So he's got two ways of dealing with it. Come out defiant and think, fuck yous, I'll show you that was just a one-off and I'm going to smash you to pieces. Or he might say, well, let's go and get another fight against a proper boxer, get me ready for Usyk. It all depends, really. It's business at the end of the day. You know, that fight with Usyk's worth so many millions right now. Would another bad performance put some type of dampener on it? I don't know. So obviously he's got plenty of options because he's heavyweight champion of the world, and he's still the man. But it has thrown a massive spanner in the works of everything in everyone's mind, and you know only he'll know how to deal with it.
And David, on the Francis Ngannou front, who would you like to see him share the ring with next? The Fury rematch, you know, the Joshua fight, Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
Do you think he's still of that ilk, or was it just a one-off performance? What do you think?
It's got to be a big name, hasn't it, for him, because he's had nothing to gain in fighting. Like when I spoke to you earlier, you know, Fabio Wardley was on that card last night. I thought he was brilliant. I think he'd have beaten Francis Ngannou last night. I think he would have, you know. There's many fighters, many heavyweight boxers who would beat Francis Ngannou. So the reality is he needs to be in with a big name to give it the novelty effect like it had last night. Only this time, whoever gets in with him won't have the same mentality going in that, you know, he's coming from a different sport. I'll just take him out of there when it please. So I don't know whether he's kind of give too much away last night for the elite fighters, where the elite fighters are taken seriously and do what Tyson Fury supposedly should have done last night. But he can definitely handle himself, can't he? And his punch power is second to none. He's got a tough chin and constitution, so he's got all the ingredients to keep being a top heavyweight boxer. But it's going to have to be the right event for him. Like I say, what's he got to gain in fighting Fabio Wardley or whoever else, you know?
Just on the domestic name, one I want to run past you is Anthony Joshua, because I've seen Eddie Hearn mention it as a potential fight. What would you make of an Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, and more so this more recent version of Anthony Joshua we've been seeing?
I think Anthony Joshua would knock him out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he would. And it's styles make fights, don't they? And like I said, he's got the benefit of seeing him in the ring with Tyson Fury now, so knows what to expect, how to take it seriously, and what the upside would be in knocking him out. You know, now Tyson Fury had everything to lose last night and nothing to gain, and he did lose everything in a way, you know. But Joshua now has got everything to gain because he's the man who put Fury down. In a lot of people's eyes, beat Fury. He'd have something to really take that fight serious for. So it's kind of worked in Andy Joffin's favour. All of this, it's all gone right for him, and it begs the question, doesn't it? I mean, imagine Andy Joshua fought Ngannou last night, and this happened. He'd have been ran out of town, like he has been for losing to Andy Ruiz. You know, not performing great against Jermaine Franklin, things like that. So it's funny how fickle boxing is, and they say similar things probably going to happen to Tyson Fury now, and it's just important that fighters keep in mind that these fans are fickle, you know, and you've just got to take that rough with the smooth and not take it to heart.
My final question, David, before I let you go off to enjoy the rest of your day, I know you've got to shoot off for the game at 2 o'clock. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about people crossing over, coming into boxing, whether it be YouTubers, influencers, or in this case, MMA fighters coming into boxing. Do you see it as damaging for the sport, or do you see the opposite and see that it's just brought more eyes to it?
There's two ways of looking at it, isn't there? And you've just said both. It's tough, really. I think what one thing it has done is it's opened your eyes to that boxers have got to be more than just boxers. You know, you've got to give the public a little bit of something else if you want to have that crossover appeal. Unless you're exceptionally talented as a fighter, like your Canelos, like your elite fighters, where you don't have to do anything outrageous to get people's bums on seats. But unless you haven't got that X factor completely, you are going to have something else about you, whether it's charisma, whether it's you know, a bit of flair, a bit of a mouth, bit of back and forth. It's becoming a little bit like the WWE, the boxing, a little bit at the lower levels. And unless you've got that X factor, I think fighters should start accepting it and going, okay, you do whatever you've got to do, and if you wanna have to act out a little bit, it is what it is. Don't feel stupid for doing it, because next week someone else will be doing it. You know, it's an entertainment business now. It's becoming a little bit different, and you look back to years ago and you think back Joe Louis days, fighters like that. There was a massive boxing audience then, which was just pure boxing, because they didn't have MMA then. They didn't have social media. You know, it would have been like Laurel and Hardy coming into boxing, some of these things, and having a fight. They probably would have watched that. But social media is giving a massive platform to the people who've got confidence about themselves, and they don't mind making a fool of themselves in front of millions, in front of a phone. And there was probably people like that years ago, but they just didn't have the platform to do it. But now they've got the platform to do it. And boxing is unique in that it's just a sport that anyone can lace a pair of gloves up and go in and do. You only need a pair of hands in boxing, and you can have a fight. And the nature of boxing and the nature of human beings is that people will stop and do like to watch other human beings fight with each other. It's just in our nature. So if you see a fight, you can't not watch. It's just how we are, and which means if one-on-one sports, if someone off YouTube or someone off the telly was going to have a tennis match against each other, or they're going to have a boxing match against each other, more people are going to watch the boxing match, because there's more chances of seeing blood drawn. There's more chance of someone getting hurt. There's more chance of someone getting humiliated and getting knocked out. And it's got that car crash factor, boxing, which is always why it's always going to attract people, and that's why it's so unique, and that's why these crossover fights are happening, and that why they'll continue to happen. So, to answer your question, because I went off on one a bit there, I think it's a bit of both. I think it's good for the sport, but it's also, like last night, a lot of boxing people feel a bit kind of embarrassed. They're talking about boxing people who argue with like MMA people on forums and things like that, or social media, which is the better sport. And it kind of looks like MMA won last night. But yeah, it's going to keep on happening, so we just got to accept it. But I do think young fighters coming through need to look at how they market themselves and think, I can maybe learn a little bit from it.
David, I appreciate your time now. I hope you enjoyed
Yeah,
the game, saying
cheers,
positive
Andy.
result. Thank you for speaking to me, and speak to you soon.
See you soon, mate.